Mickey 17 is an adaptation of Mickey 7, the sci-fi novel by Edward Ashton, published in 2022. Their themes surrounding identity and immortality. In the novel, Mickey is sent on dangerous missions to colonize an ice planet, and he's expendable. And when one Mickey dies, another version of him is created. And the trailer showed that. It almost looks like he's being 3D printed out of this machine. And yeah, has very much a humorous vibe to it. So when one Mickey dies, another version of him takes his place, and he has most of his memories. Basically, the process renders him almost immortal in a sense. The plot and the trailer kind of indicated this, that one day he's presumed dead after an accident, but I guess he survived, but they already replaced him. So now there's two of them. The author wanted to explore the idea of a crappy version of immortality, coupled with an exploitative social structure, is what he said. And the novel itself has been described as The Martian meets Multiplicity, which is a very funny combination. The combination of hard sci-fi with this very comedic narrative. And the trailer looks like that. There is some differences. Bong Joon-ho kind of talked about it. The title of the movie is Mickey 17, and that number is the number of time he dies. And the novel is Mickey 7, so he's killed him 10 more times. It's a story of a simple man. It's a sci-fi movie. It's hard to say sci-fi. It's a human story. When he chose Robert Pattinson, he said that Pattinson had like this crazy thing in his eyes is why he connected with him for this role. So it's a very interesting collaboration. I'm always intrigued by what Robert Pattinson is doing. He seems very discerning in the roles that he chooses, very diverse roles. He really likes to be a part of lots of different things to kind of stretch his acting muscles. We really didn't see much going on. Like, what is this movie about? I kept hearing weird things about it, especially since there was a recent CinemaCon event. I think they previewed this trailer at CinemaCon, and the reactions from it were so weird. It was so funny how the initial reactions from those critics that were present, they had such almost visceral negative reaction. I don't think they knew what to expect at all. Whatever they were expecting was not that. IndieWire described the trailer as tongue-in-cheek, a screwball dystopia. If you haven't seen a trailer, it's really wacky, but I love it. So in the trailer, Mickey says, as an expendable, they made me work my ass off on one mission after another. Even on my 17th go-around, I hate dying. So yeah, it's a very crappy version of immortality. Immediately his hand gets chopped off in the beginning of the trailer. He's shown dumped alive into like this hot liquid metal because I guess he's almost dying. They're like, we'll just finish you off and we'll get a new one. And he's having a hard time. The reactions from the media were calling it zany, bonkers, irreverent. The science fiction premise mixed with dark comedic elements definitely seemed to evoke the spirit of the novel. There are also ones that were saying that it was huge and ridiculous and shocking. It's big budget with a personality, and words do it no justice. And there were ones that did not like it. One insider, who I hear a lot of, Daniel Rickman, he did not like it. There were so many that were just off-put by his voice. And I thought it was hilarious because this was the boy in the heron voice. He played the heron. If you haven't seen that, it's Studio Ghibli's newest movie from Hayao Miyazaki. Highly recommend. But yeah, Robert Pattinson plays the voice of the heron. It doesn't sound like him. It's crazy. He did such a good job on that. And it reminded me of that. He's doing some pretty cool voice work there. I don't think the studio or Warner Brothers had the confidence in it, or that was the rumor, because of how zany it was. It's so different. We have Robert Pattinson, and obviously he's a far cry from his recent turn as the Batman. But yeah, with his voice though, it just put off so many critics and they didn't know what to think of it. But I think online, the reception is pretty positive for just general audiences. And I think they feel like it's refreshing. It's refreshing to have something different. I like sci-fi comedy personally, and I think it's almost Hitchhiker's Guide-esque, but maybe a little more dystopian. I kind of like those kinds of sci-fi stories that take a concept and make it funny, make it a comedy. And I think with the choice of Robert Pattinson, maybe they thought it was going to be something different. Maybe the tone would be different. But Robert Pattinson has a great acting range. He just wanted to do something different. And this actually makes a lot of sense that he would want this kind of role. I think people are just tired of remakes and sequels and prequels. And I think this is refreshing for audiences to see something that looks so different, so original. And yeah, it's based off of a book, but probably a lot of people haven't heard of it. And hopefully they will now. They'll check it out. It definitely seems to have much more of a positive reception by potential viewers than it did with critics. Critics and these media journalists seemed so taken aback by it. And yeah, it has to be maybe like a consistent tone. There has to be like a flow to it, I think. It looks great. Effects look good. It definitely has that hard sci-fi feel. It looks grounded. The characters are the elements that are zany and out there. But as far as how it looks and the technology and the visual effects, those look great. And it will be playing in IMAX. And that was another reason why they thought they wanted to push it back to this particular date. I guess it would have no other competition. They could have all the IMAX dates that they could have. I'm sure having it in the premium IMAX formats will help it. It's definitely has a high production budget. And I think Warner Brothers views this as a risk. But I feel like you have a lot of talent behind the scenes. You have a great story with the author's book that you've based it on, a strong concept. And you also have great acting talent with Robert Pattison as the lead. And behind the scenes as well, you have the acclaimed Parasite director, Bong Joon-ho. So there's a lot of, on paper, like great elements to it. And from what I've seen visually, looks great. Doesn't look too out there or too uncanny or cheesy when it comes to the visual effects. It looks very grounded. And they're going to have more time to work on it, though, I guess, if they want to polish any of that. But so far, it looks pretty good. And yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting time at the theater. I saw one guy reacting to the film slate for 2025, and it was like Toy Story 5, Frozen 3 and 4, Moana 2, so many sequels, prequels, remakes, and just goes to show that I think the audience, the potential audience, is very primed to have an original and fresh idea. I think the media and critics were so off-put by Robert Pattinson's voice that they didn't know what to think. We got a little ways to wait, but I think it'll be a nice, refreshing turn to start the 2025 theatrical slate. If you like sci-fi, I think you'll enjoy it. If you like comedies, I think you'll enjoy it. And people like both. And this looks like you'll at least have a fun time